here in this video we're gonna be start to learn about request library in Python. Now if you are thinking what request library is, I can recommend you to just go through its documentation on this particular URL. This is the official page for it, right? But if I have to tell you, you can also have a look on brief description of it. But if I have to tell you in my words, this is one of the library which is very handy, quick to send a HTTP request, and basis on which you can get all the contents or codes or scripts behind a web page, right? And specifically when it comes to web scraping, this is very useful, right? So whatever topics I am going to cover in this particular series of videos, that will be majorly from the perspective of web scraping. So let's start with this. Let me take you to the Jupyter Notebook, and over here in the Jupyter Notebook, what we're gonna do is, because in my system request is already installed, but just in case if it is not installed in your system, what you can do is you can say you can say pip install, and then you can say request, right? Let me just copy paste it over here. Install pip install request. Now the spelling is also correct, but I'm not going to run this because that's something which is already installed in my system. Now if you are running this and trying to install, and if you get any kind of error, just put that into the comment section. I will have a look on that. Other than this, on its official web page, it also suggests you how to install it, and for that what you can do is you can go right over here, and here it is suggesting like this. You can go in your terminal, you can put this thing, and you can have it installed, right? So I will be providing this URL in the description. You can check it out from there. Okay, now what we do after installation, we're gonna import this particular library. Okay, this is imported. Now what next we're gonna do, right? So the next thing is, let's say this is the YouTube page for learn area. Now if I want to get the script behind this particular page, what we're gonna do is just take this particular URL and come over here, though it is already pasted over here. I'm again going to do that. Okay, now so okay, let me explain you in the beginning, right? So request has a function which is called get, or maybe you can say get method, right? So using get method, you send a HTTP request to a URL, let's say this URL, to provide the scripts behind it or contents behind it. All right, so for that, if you run this, you will get the response from that page, right? And you can store that in this, let's say we can say response. All right, so this is the response which will get the response from this particular URL, right? Before this, what I would suggest you, what all are the functions that we have available in request. You can check that out using dir, and you can use request, and you can hit enter. So these are all the functions which are available for request library, and we can, I mean, if you want, you can try each of them. Here we will be covering all of those which are very much required or very frequently used when it comes to web scraping or any other normal uses, right? So when you execute this particular thing, it is completed and you got the response from this particular URL. Now to check the response, we gonna check the status code. Let's say response.status code. Okay, and just hit enter. So here we got 200 means it is absolutely okay, right? Now there is a whole list of response codes that you can check from this Wikipedia page, and you will get the meaning of each of the status code. Here you can see status code 200 means okay, right? So the request is successful. Now once this is successful, then you can check out its contents also. For example, response.content and when you hit enter, here you got all the contents of that particular web page. Now this is in the form of codes and all, right? So if you want to convert that in form of a string, what you can do is you can simply say response dot text. Okay, and let's run this. So if you see right over here, though it is also looking similar to what we got in the content, but it is more like HTML scriptings, right? And in form of a string, right? So this is how you can get the text of the content which we got by sending a GET request to a particular URL. Now if you want to see what all are the headers available in this particular thing, that you can also check. When I say header, that doesn't mean the YouTube header. Means if you are familiar with HTML, in HTML we have header, body, etc, etc. So those kind of headers we can get from here, right? So you can say response dot headers and you hit enter. So what you get is list of headers for that particular page. So similarly, there are many functions which we can use. If you want to see the list of those functions which we can apply on this particular response, right? So this is the list of all those functions, right? If you want to understand what each of these things are, then what you can do is instead of dir, you can simply say help. Let's try. And when you say help, you got description of each of those functions. For example, bool, and then if you come at the end over here, you see text, it will give you the content of the response in Unicode, okay, etc, etc. There are so many things which we can do now. So this was the first video in this series, so let's keep it to this only, and then as we progress we will see more advanced features and other features. Thank you very much for watching the video. Stay tuned for upcoming videos.